So Josie, you're saying first girl ever to go to the Olympics and stuff, Paralympics. Why did you decide to change sports? Why the change in direction?
I think, like I say, I've always been more of an individual athlete.
Yeah.
And I'd done a bit of racing in 2007.
Right.
About a year after I'd started playing rugby. And I really enjoyed it. But at the time, obviously, selection for Beijing was around the corner.
Yeah.
And then obviously by that time I sort of knew it was a possibility that I could be selected.
Yeah.
And I sort of had to make a decision: do I stick with rugby, or do I take the risk and go wheelchair racing? At the time I'd been playing rugby a year longer, and it was too big a risk.
Yeah.
I suppose after Beijing I wanted to get back into individual sport. It was always something I just thought I'm definitely more of an individual. I loved being part of a team, but on the other hand I hated the fact that you have to rely on other people.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah. And
it was a big risk, and it took me a long time after Beijing to take the plunge and leave rugby.
Yeah. Do you think that's something you'll ever go back to, or is it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Never say never.
Yeah. Yeah. How's the transition? Is it completely different training, or is it similar to what you did before?
Obviously, in certain respects, it's completely different. But I don't have to do any of the sort of with rugby training. Obviously, most of your training is part of a team, other than your weight training. So getting used to training on my own was a bit. It was a little bit lonely in the start, but now actually I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. So your recent, I was reading you at the IPC World Championships recently.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Because did you get disqualified? From
I got disqualified.
Is that just learning from experience? Is that just?
Yeah, I think they're really strict on lane violation.
Right.
You can't even touch any of the lines.
Yeah.
And the racing chair that I was in for in New Zealand, I wasn't completely comfortable with.
Yeah.
And again, I'd only been in my racing chair for 9 months.
Yeah.
So it was quite a big ask anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I was disappointed that I did get disqualified, but I just had to keep sort of reassuring myself, I've only been doing this for a few months.
Yeah.
Just take this as experience, not to put too much pressure on myself, and and I'd only ever raced against one of the other girls, the Canadian.
Right.
She's the world record holder at the moment. I'd only raced against her. I'd never seen any of the other girls.
Yeah.
So again, that was a experience to take in.
Yeah.
And, see what my competition is, and it was invaluable experience for the run up to London.
Yeah. So what are you targeting in London then? Is it you do 3 events? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, in London, there's only going to be the 100 and 200 metres.
Right.
Yeah. They've announced only recently they've announced the core events.
Right.
And the 100 and 200 metres from my classification are the two and I pretty much knew that was what it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was the same in Beijing, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are you targeting? Podium? Gold?
What you mean, medal?
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know. You'll have to see.
Have to see. Yeah. So can you see yourself doing this? How long does a career in this sort of thing last, Josie?
I suppose it depends, really. I suppose it depends on your body and what what your body can take. And if you pick up injuries, touch wood.
Yeah.
I've never had an injury. I've never had any twinges or anything.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm using my shoulders and my arms all day, every day.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Your arms weren't designed
to
carry your body around.
Yeah.
So you have to be quite careful. I do a lot of prehab
Right.
to try and prevent injuries. I think it's you know, with sport, and especially at that level, you've got to enjoy it, and if you're not enjoying it, then you're not going to put all your effort into it, and you're not going to get the results. So
I was talking about disabled sport earlier, and do you think enough is done to promote disability sport? You know, you look at the Paralympics and you compare it to the coverage of the Olympics, it's just virtually non-existent, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's got better than what it was, because it was pretty much non-existent. I think there isn't enough that is done, and especially that, I mean, there's a lot more, especially because we're hosting next year. There is a lot more being done, but like GB as a nation is so successful. It's such a successful Paralympic team that I don't think, you know, it's not, people don't know.
That's what I've come across, is that I was looking at comparing it to previous Olympics, and you see that the success that the Paralympians have compared to the Olympians, there's just no competition at all.
We're more successful by a country mile.
Do you think London will have a big impact on that, though, you know, when it's in our country?
I hope so. I know that there's a lot of, you know, there is a lot of, you know, I say not as much as the Olympic people get, but, you know, there are a lot of like documentaries, and because people don't know about it, it is a learning curve for the public, like learning about Paralympic sports, because a lot of people just don't have a clue about how it all works, and obviously if people don't know about it, people aren't going to support it. So it's just that education of the public, isn't it?
How are you funded, Josie?
Well, at the moment, so I was obviously being funded by rugby, and then when I made the transition, they were really helpful, really supportive, and they were like, you know, in that transition phase, we'll still fund you, you know, UK Sport and that funding. My performance at World Championships was pretty much going to be what funding I would get from UK Athletics, and because I didn't like medal or you know, get particularly good times, I wasn't put on the UK Athletics funding. So at the moment, nothing.
What's that like, the pressure? Because, you know, you've changed to a brand new sport, and
I mean, it's one of the risks I knew I was going to have to take. The funding system, they review it every 6 months, so the next one is in October. So it's not like that's it until London. If I have a really good season this season and get some good times, and you know, I know what the qualifying standards are for my two distances. So, you know, if I have a good season and get those, then So what sort of training programs you go through, Josie? Like from say Monday to Friday, what sort of would you be doing? At the moment, I'm doing pretty much 2 sessions a day. So yeah, it's split up into like strength, your track sessions. So that consists of like sprint sessions or interval sessions, or and depending on what time of the season you're at as well. At the moment, I'm doing like lots of short distance work to prepare for competition season. And I do a lot of core based sessions to try and improve my core strength and core stability. Like your prehab sessions or your bands, injury prevention, things like that. But yeah, the majority of it is on the track.
So it's like having a full-time job, really.
I don't see how people can work to be an athlete. It must be so hard.
So who would you say you look up to, Josie? Is there someone, you know, when you were starting in wheelchair sport, is there any idols, heroes?
I suppose my my understanding of disability sport before my accident was zero. I'd never heard of it really, other than like in the horsey world, I'd heard of like Lee Pearson. But he's somebody that I would look up to. So successful. Doesn't get as much cover, you know, as much what's the word? recognition as he
Yeah.
deserves. He's definitely somebody that I think, you know, is an inspiration to me.
Yeah.
But I suppose when you get involved, I suppose it sounds a bit of a cliche, but anybody that gets to that elite level of sport,
Yeah.
because I know what it involves and what you have to, you know, what you have to sacrifice to get there,
Yeah.
is an inspiration.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose the last question from me, Josie, would be, you know, what message would you send to a 17-year-old girl who found herself in the position that you found yourself in?
Oh gosh. Yeah, just, you know, obviously the initial stages is just be strong and always think of the positives, you know, never dwell on the negatives.
Yeah.
If you do that, then you're going to go backwards.
Yeah.
So always look on the bright side of life. And yeah, if there are people out there that want to get involved in sport, you know, get on the internet.
Yeah.
And you know, just do a little bit of research. There are lots of clubs and certain organisations that you can get involved in to get into sport. Just be determined. You know, don't let something like an accident like I had or anything come in the way of what you want to achieve in life.
Yeah.
And you know, set yourself. I used to set myself little goals. You know, you know, I want to be doing this by the end of the year or in the next few months, and so you've got little things that you know that you achieve, and then sort of they're your building blocks really.
Yeah.
Yeah, be determined, be strong, and just go out and do it.
That's great, Josie. Brilliant. Thanks very much.